everybody. How we doing today? Canon, EOS, Mike. Okay, cool. All right. Awesome. Hey, everybody. Wait, where am I? I'm right over here. Okay, cool. Awesome. Welcome to the studio. I'm Christopher Dahl. It's Friday. And we are at the end of a long week of everything turning into a very humid, disgusting place. It was really horrible in here. Oh, anyway, I'm sorry. Cutting my head off. All right, cutting my head off. I think my camera fell. Anyway, we have... My camera fell. It like went down. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to do this standing up. So anyhow, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining. Yeah, we had a crazy time, but I've redone the office yet again. Hang on, let me see who's here. Hold tight. Hey, Iridium's here. How you doing? Good to see you today. And this is so silly. All right, that's better. Hey. Chair. What do we got in here? Iridium's here. Hey, Wes is here. How you doing, Wes? Good to see you. Glad you can make it in here. This is so silly. Echo far away. Yep. We're gonna have some echoes for a couple of minutes here. Bear with the echoes. We're going through some issues. Probably related to the massive humidity that built up. Hey, I was about to go to the grocery store, Wes says, but I got the reminder email about the streams. I'm going later. That's cool. Thank you for sticking around. No, seriously, thank you. It was a little nutty this week. I didn't, heat dome, a lot of humidity. All the walls were covered in moisture. It was bad. We got there's a lot of weird noises today. Audio's got to be a little bit off. So I decided, because we're kind of pulling things together, and check out the space. I've moved everything out the way, so now I have this wonderful whole room just to deal with this. Pretty cool. Anyhow, yes, there's dehumidifiers and fans running. I'm using a different microphone, and it does actually have, at least for this shot, just for this right here. I'll go back to my regular one in a minute. Thanks, Iridium. Yeah, this is really cool. Before, I was sitting about right here doing the live stream kind of just in this back corner, right? So, now I've got, oh my gosh, this is so great. I've got all this room. It's really exciting. Probably the way I should have set this up in the first place, right? So this is version 2 of the studio. Yeah. I'm not prepared to paint this. Forgive me. We will get back to actually painting on the Space Art Painting live stream, I promise you. In fact, next week, you have my word, nothing but painting, no stupid models. No, none of this stuff. Models aren't stupid. Oh my gosh, we're going to do fun stuff. But, don't be signed. That's really cool. Echo. Ow. Sorry. We're, I see one. Hold on. Canon, desktop, yeah. We're gonna be off the echo in just a minute. It's like there's three. Oh boy, that's terrible. Okay. Anyhow, what we're gonna do today, and I'm gonna switch us on over. Hang tight. Everything's weird. This is professional live stream here, everybody. And Mike. Okay. How about now, everybody? Are we in better shape now? I hope so. Anyhow, welcome everybody to the live stream. Hopefully the echoes have gone away, but yeah, there we go. Better, thank you. Yeah. I moved everything, and actually, today and last night, because the humidity has built up so much, I was having trouble with all the equipment here. We're going to have a little audio glitches tonight, so forgive me. But anyhow, I wanted to take today and introduce you all to one of our chat participants and a very good friend of mine that I've known for a very long time, Andrew McDonald. He and I worked at Microsoft together, and we're very similar in many regards. We've decided that because of our shared interests and shared history, we have maybe a voice and maybe something to share with everybody that's related to what we're doing and some of our past history. Andrew's a creative individual like I am, and so many of you as well. So this is going to be fun. We are going to we're going to launch something here new that's tied into my live stream, and I thought today would be a really good time to just, we're doing a hangout, so I'm going to roll on in. So without any further ado, let me kick it on over, and there we go. I am going to say hello, Andrew. Hey.
Hey there.
Go for it.
Oh,
you're
we
muted.
didn't really plan.
Muted.
I'm not actually. I'm not muted.
Now I'm not getting anything. Oh my God. See, we had audio issues all the whole time. Sorry about that. What's going on?
Yeah, no, I'm not muted. It sees me talking.
I know. So
I
Andrew's
think you muted me.
It's okay. Yeah, we're working on it. Hang tight. What the heck?
Yeah,
Why is this not working?
I'm fine. I'm on. I've got audio. It knows I'm talking, but
this is Wes hears him. Wes can hear him. Okay, that's cool. Andrew.
I don't know.
I don't know. What have I done? What have I done? It was like literally just working. Okay. Oh my God.
Yeah, but maybe it's something to do with streaming to YouTube that your audio is getting.
Iridium says
one of the
he
other
can
audios.
hear you.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this is so fun. All right, hang on a second. Let me check something here. Speaker, default Razer. Hang tight here. Oh my God, everybody. There we go. Nothing. Oh, Jesus. We struggled. We really did. Why is this not?
You'd think we'd never used a computer before.
Subtitles.
That's kind of how it feels right now.
Pop out view, full screen view. Smartphone? Yeah. Yeah. Great. Go away. I'm stopping the recording here. Sorry. Mute and unmute. Look, you're unmuted. Oh, this is ridiculous. Do you have a gate on? I don't have any idea if I have a gate on. Yeah, I have no actual clue. Why would this not do anything? Oh, I think I maybe know why. Hold on. Nope, not that either. Not that. Jesus Christ. I can't get anything right. All right. Jesus. Yeah, now I'm just sitting here going, what do I do? Hang tight, everybody. Riverside was picking up your audio fine. Yeah. I just can't hear you. Which is fucked. This is truly fucked. I am so sorry, everybody. I'm sorry, Andrew. He's really a nice guy, but yeah, remain calm. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. Since they can hear you, Andrew, give yourself an intro, and there we go. I'll shut up.
Oh wait, yeah, but is our session even open?
Oh, okay. Oh my God. Oh.
Wait. Yeah, I think you stopped it. So
I stopped the recording. I'm gonna start it again.
Yeah.
I discovered what happened. I am so afraid to tell you. I'm afraid to tell my chat. I'm afraid to tell everybody what happened. You just see me? Oh, okay. Actual court. You just see me now? Okay, cool. Why? That's really weird. Oh, I know why. Sorry. There we go. I hit a button. I hit a button.
You hit the button.
All right. Let me tell you what happened. This is the volume control for my headphones, and I zonked it to 0 just before the live stream, out of habit. As a result, I am the only person on planet Earth that could not hear Andrew talking right now. And now I can hear you just fine. So...
That should be like the phrase, I hit a button, you know?
Yeah. It's like mute on my headphones, Wes. Yes, exactly. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So this will give you some idea of the kinds of beautiful things you can be expecting from our upcoming podcast, Forgotten Futures.
That's exactly right.
Been there, done that, Wes says. That's really awesome. And now go, take two. Yes, we are welcome to Forgotten Futures, the new podcast by Andrew
really
McDonald.
Like take 45.
It really is like take 45, yes. Hey, while we got you here and you're hearing both of us from chat, how is the sound now that we've kind of got it settled up? I'm sure there's someone in Des Moines that couldn't hear Andrew as well. Yeah, right. Guaranteed. Yes. I don't have a lot of viewers in Des Moines, I don't think. Maybe I do. Not sure. But
Washington or Idaho or Iowa?
Probably Iowa. Oh, Iridium says sound good. Cool. Very cool.
All right. Cool.
You know, we may be in a situation where the actual problem that Andrew and I spent the first hour working on might be related to my shitty equipment on here, and that I wasn't actually hearing any real glitch, just a bad headset. Anyhow.
But I'm hearing it too, though, so there's something going on. So
that's right.
I don't know. Oh, well.
Definitely Iowa, he says. Okay, very cool. All right. So, yeah, listen. So Andrew, hey, welcome aboard to the Friday live stream, and thanks for joining today. Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I had to come out of the basement. It's a little weird to be on camera and to not be able to say all those weird things and get away with it because you don't know what I look like. Anyhow, but I have successfully deleted all my social media, so no one can find out anything about me. Wrong, but
except what you share here.
Yeah, which is probably everything because I don't really have a good filter, but we'll find out. You know.
So Andrew shares a love of science fiction and crazy things like I do. We definitely got along very well in that regard at Microsoft when we first met. Gosh, what was that, around 2002 maybe, or was it later than that? I mean, it's been a while. I forget when you joined the commerce team.
Yeah, I joined in 2004, but I think I'd already met you because you guys were working on a project with me at another company. So
that's right. They got to know you. You came in. It was Gap.
Yeah, you guys were coming in. Yeah, it was Gap, and you guys were launching Commerce Server 2002, and you know, let's not go through that in too much detail.
Right. Wait, okay, we could skip that.
There's a lot of details behind that make me laugh, and I really can't talk about why, but yeah.
So we just to set the scene for everybody here, when we actually worked together, we were in building. We were in building 1, weren't we? Or were we building
1?
We were building
the original one of the original buildings. Yep, that was tilted because of the earthquake.
Yep. It had a
that was basically collapsing on us as we were there, and that's why they eventually. Yeah, that's why they knocked all those buildings down and are building something else there. I don't know what, but yeah.
Mosh pit.
They do need a mosh pit. It's true. They need an outdoor rave area for Microsoft. I'm surprised they don't have one. Seems like
usually it was just indoor, depending on the party. But yeah, yeah, the uncomfortable laugh. Right?
I don't remember anybody having a rave at least none of the Microsoft people I knew. They all seemed pretty.
There was one group I think it was just after you left. We'd moved over across the way a little bit. We were in the building 43, 44, 45. So we were sharing it with a bunch of the other server products, and one of them had a pretty big release, and it was outdoors on a sunny day, but it's the closest thing you could have to a rave outdoor on a sunny day. It was, they brought in inflatable jacuzzis, and there was a motorcycle involved at one point. There was a heroic amount of alcohol, and probably other things, but that's okay. Yeah, so it was very close. They had their moments. But
I don't know. I always thought that Microsoft should have had renegade parties, like just, show up on the green and have a party and then wait for security to get mad and then run away. But, that's just me.
They kept that to the Friday afternoon. Let's just feed everybody a lot of beer and send them home.
I know. I always wondered about that. I was like, does that make sense for everybody to suddenly get on the road after having a Friday afternoon party? But what do I know?
Yeah, it's exact. Here's your pizza and your beer.
We weren't allowed guns, so there's that.
Never allowed that. So yeah, we put a number of years together there. Knew a bunch of we've both collected a vast supply of insane stories, not only about this place but the industry in general. So yeah, relevant to a lot of the things we talk about on the chat here, right?
Yeah. I think both of us didn't belong in corporate America. So, it's sort of like that whole thing of who are we and why are we here? And I don't care about any of this. It was like our kind of our daily conversation. You go have lunch and then it was like, let's have a different conversation today because that one's going nowhere.
Well, there's definitely a certain personality type that absolutely clicks and fits in with a corporate culture. And I was always kind of on the edge of that. I always knew that going in. But I'd been reasonably successful in other structured organizations, so I thought I would give it a shot. And, there were good and bad of it mostly. But yeah, I mean, it was a crazy time. But and it also set up a lot of things that I'm doing right now, which is actually kind of nice. But
yeah, I mean, we all learned a lot. It's fine. I'm glad to never work there again. But it's just I think that's more of I never want to work in a corporate job again where I don't have any control over anything.
Right, exactly.
So.
And like me, you're in a situation now where it's kind of like an open field, right?
Right.
We can do
An open
anything.
field full of no money and lots of expenses.
Bingo. The only limit is money.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what are you working on in your space there?
So I think I've mentioned this a few times, but I'm doing a lot. I started fooling around with Unreal, God, 5 years ago, when I was working at a big social media company in Palo Alto or Menlo Park, actually. And I was so incredibly bored, and I started, I'm like, I should do something interesting, and then I started playing around with Unreal, and then that's kind of built over time. I'm not really into. If I'm gonna make a game, it'll be something really weird that nobody will buy or play. But I started realizing that Unreal's tools, when they started launching MetaHuman and things like that, were getting pretty good for doing animation. So I've been fooling around making short films in Unreal using motion capture, and that's kind of where I'm at. And because I started out in animation back in the 90s and realized that I don't want to have to model everything. I mean, we've talked about this. It was like I worked for the workflow, not the workflow working for me, and that kind of was not going to work. One of the reasons why I got into photography was because I could just show up, take a photograph, and it's done. The tools are pretty transparent to what you want to get done. And that's kind of what I wanted and I worked in film, and when you look at all the people that have to get involved in a production and all the lighting and all the audio people and everything else, it's a huge production and there's a lot of money. And I was like, it's not what I want to do either. And so then seeing what's happening now with the tools that are available to me, it's been pretty amazing. And I'm still learning a lot. I still have a long way to go before anything looks like something I'd want to show people. But that's where I'm at.
That's really cool. And you were an accomplished photographer when we met, and you definitely were. Oh man, you were playing with medium format. A lot of Were you actually developing your stuff too at that point, or were you done with that kind of part of it?
I go back and forth. So I was shooting a lot of. I had a lot of different cameras. I mean, I had large format and I had a lot of medium format stuff, and I'd always processed my own film, and then sometimes I got lazy and had other people do it. But black and white, I always did myself. But color, I've done myself, and also paid other people to do it. And it used to be cheap. I mean,
Yeah.
reasonably cheap.
Yeah.
But then it got in the past 10 years, the cost of a 4x5 sheet of film plus processing is getting close to $8 per sheet. And the way I use film, I tend to use film kind of liberally. So, you don't realize that you've just gone through, $1,000 worth of film until it's over. And then you're like, that's not good. you know? Uh, Especially, I used to do 4x5 portraits, like handheld portraits with a press camera. And that was a pretty
Cool.
successful thing to do. People loved them. But it got expensive fast and I couldn't afford to charge people what it was actually costing me.
Yeah.
So that became a losing proposition. That was one of those moments where you're like, maybe I'm not the best businessman.
It's all for the art.
So yeah, right. No, I like getting paid. It's fun to get paid. It's fun
It
when
is
people
actually
pay
fun
you
to.
for the work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
and the thing was, like, with photography, it's like anything else, right? Especially commercial work, right? You have to deal with art directors and all that stuff. And I started out in the 80s in New York, and I found that doing architectural work for like interior designers and architects was the easiest job because they didn't really bother you too much. They would kind of like get you into whatever place you needed to photograph, and then they just kind of leave you alone. And they're just like, yeah, just come back with like stuff that looks good. You're like, yeah, I could do that. That's easy. And you shoot a mix of color and black and white. Maybe you get it all done in a day. Maybe it would take 2 days, depending on the light. But it was actually a pretty good business, and I was doing really well until about 87 when that market crash happened, and
Well.
whatever that was in 87.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, like, all my jobs disappeared, and that's when I was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna have to finish school and then figure something out. So yeah, that was an interesting moment of like reinvention. I was like, okay, that's not working. What do I do next? Well, and my father was like, hey, this is a good time to finish school because otherwise I'm not going to pay for it. And you're like, yeah, that's probably a good plan then.
Thanks, Dad. All right, right,
So,
heading right for it.
yeah, nothing like a kick in the ass to go, yeah, I guess that's a good plan.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's yeah. There were a few times I feel like I was on the cusp of launching kind of a creative business, and then recessions hit or some silly thing hits where it's like all of a sudden that business model evaporates like within a year, right? Um, I've been able to weather a couple of those with this mainly, but it's still frustrating, right? It's like, wait a second, now you got things that are worldwide events impacting, or countrywide, depending on where you are, impacting the stuff you're going to do in a pretty significant way. I don't know, it's first world problems whining here, but that's a significant problem.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, what was the last one? Was '08 was the last big sort of
Yeah.
economic
08 was the
meltdown.
08 was a really big, that one, in fact, that's the one that really kicked off a pretty big turbulent change for me, because 08 09 was about the last year I was at Microsoft, and every account that people were working for was just falling apart. But yeah, that was that was a harsh one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was when they had the layoffs, and I actually asked to be laid off.
Oh, I did too. Yeah, they wouldn't do it, the bastards. Jeez, I'm like, please.
No, I know that's because the first round of layoffs I think it was in early '09 is when they decided they were going to do
Yep.
that, and it was going to be like a huge number of people, like 10,000 or something. and I knew they were going to get the best deal. So I was like, you can lay me off. It's totally fine. And I figured I'd get like a year's salary and I'd be good.
Oh yeah.
And my manager at the time, I was working in ads, and he's like, "Why would I do that?" He's like, "I actually need you." And he's like, "There's a lot of people here I could get rid of, but I actually need what you're doing right now." And I was like,
Ugh.
"No, I can teach somebody else."
I'll take the layoff.
And the funny part was, I know. And then like 2 years later, I'm in San Francisco working for Nielsen. And then, on this little startup venture they had a joint venture, and I was working on this TV app, right? And we had like I think we had Oprah as one of our clients, right? And it was a second screen, kind of experience.
Mhm.
And Grey's Anatomy was the big one, the big TV show we had. Anyhow, and I knew that we were going to close because I knew, like, I mean, I was just like, it was costing us so much money just to put one show on, and we weren't getting any money back. So I was like, oh, this is gonna fold, and then sure enough, it like one day we get a call and like, okay, you're done, return your laptops, and we're all sitting there like on texting each other, going, what? Return the laptop? And we were all at home, like, who are we gonna return it to, And I just remember none of us returned anything, and then we got our checks, and nobody said anything, and you know. But it was
Grab.
funny because I was like, oh, I finally got laid off. I've never been laid off before,
Yep, it's a
Yeah.
Windows boot CD. I'm gonna wipe this machine or whatever you have at the time. Yep, that's now going to be my.
Oh yeah.
This laptop's going to be a future couch prop. But yeah.
They have so many laptops, and they all just kind of die. Like my last one that one I had to send back because it was still under warranty. But it seems like laptops just die routinely. I mean, my desktops tend to
Yeah.
last for a long time, but it seems like laptops kind of go for about a year and then they just kind of collapse.
Yeah, depends on the
I don't know.
laptop, I'm sure. But yeah, that 2009 one. I've been involved in 2 layoffs that were basically, hey, market's collapsing, we're reducing, and blah 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 blah. And one of them was not Microsoft. I actually I voluntarily left Microsoft and that's when I went to Razorfish.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I took a really nice salary increase to do that too. I was feeling really good about myself, but yeah, like a year and 3 months later, the recession had caught up to Razorfish, and they were like, "Nope, we're up." Oh well, that's the way it goes. Right?
Yeah. I started out in advertising, and I just remember like, God, who was I working? I was working on the Amex green card account. It must have been in Ogilvy, and I was only there for a few days, and I don't know. I had some weird job. I don't know what I was doing, but I remember the guy that I worked for came by, and I just happened to be looking up like how to use a formula in Excel because I was trying to run a report, and I couldn't remember whatever the formula was. And he looked at me and goes, "What are you doing looking at the help file?" And I was like, "Because I need to remember how to use the formula." And then like I get this call, "Okay, you've been fired." And I'm like, "Okay." And then he refused to sign the time card, back when you were doing like that kind of work, that kind of, temp work, you had to whatever. And I remember looking at the guy going, if you don't sign my time card, I'm going to follow you home. And he was this little, schmuck from God knows what. And he looked at me and he goes, he signs it, right? And then he kind of goes, "All right, are we good?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're good now."
Yep.
And then, I got paid, but it was hilarious. And then I found out the next day they'd lost that moment that he had told me I was fired was like when they lost the green card account.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they had like gotten a call and then they just fired everybody. Like a minute after having the account dropped, they fired everybody. And their whole thing was to not pay anybody if they could avoid it,
Right. Right.
So
Pretty
they
typical.
started with people like us, like me, who was a temp, who they figured they could get away with it. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh hell no! I'm gonna follow you fucking home if you do that." Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yo, the occasional F word
Yeah,
on the
we don't
live
have
stream.
the 7-second delay.
We might. I have no idea. This is all new software to me. I have no clue. But yeah, so we've
need a producer who can edit that stuff.
I know. But eventually, yes, we will be that big. So, in general, for everyone in chat, since Andrew and I do have some of we realize we have a lot of this kind of shared history and a lot of these stories. We felt a good place for it might be in its own podcast. So the plan is, Iridium says, I remember getting laid off, then 2 days later, my boss got laid off. It all just collapsed in 2008, right, Iridium?
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, that was that was a crazy time, but I had the same luck Andrew had trying to talk my manager into giving me an early layoff. I was looking at 9 months to a year of basically that would have been the payment, including like an extra chunk. It was crazy. I would have been stupid not to ask for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Every,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, everybody after that the second round of layoffs, they got like a month severance. Like,
Right.
the good severance was gone,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Iridium asks, what is this new podcast of which you speak? All right. So we Andrew and I have been talking about this probably since last fall, I think. I even remember kind of the plan was to get this rolling by the first of the year, and just life happened for really the both of us. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, we're going to go with Forgotten Futures, right?
Yeah.
As the name. And we're going to include these kinds of discussions. Plus, since we both have, really creative endeavors, workplace shenanigans. What would you call it? Navigating the turbulent waters of corporate life when you recognize that you're more of a creative person and don't need it. So yeah. And occasionally a very, very deep dive into the 2003 Battlestar Galactica.
I think that'll be sort of an underlying theme to everything. I think we'll always be a little bit about, like, Adama, his relationship with Lee. We'll always be talking about that because I feel like that underpins like all of life, right?
Right. Exactly. Wes says
their abuse of technology.
Wes says, I survived 19 layoffs at DreamWorks. That's right, Wes. You went through a bunch of those, including the 2008 and 2015. The 20th bit me. I am so frustrated for you, Wes. You do good work, and that's really, really annoying. And yeah, DreamWorks went through some turbulence for sure. So if you survived those, Wes, you were mission critical. Yeah.
Right. I think that when you work full time at one of those studios, you pretty much have to assume that you're going to get laid off and rehired endlessly, from what I can tell. When I was just a production crew, so I was never working full time at any of the studios. So for me, it was like, the production's over, I'm over.
Yes. Wes says, imagine the toxic culture of living through all of that. Oh, I've been through a few of those. Yeah. It's just, you go for months just feeling like, your head's going to get chopped off, and it affects everybody, right? It's I don't understand sometimes how companies get shit done when they're dropping this on people all the time, because you're certainly impacting efficiency on a pretty macro level without realizing it.
I don't really understand. See, this is why I don't belong in corporate America, because I don't really understand the financial side of things. Like, they staff up. I remember it was Facebook that was hiring like massive amounts of people, and then they fired all these people when they pivoted to VR or AR or whatever their meta renaming thing was. And it was like, that's really weird. Why couldn't those people just move over to other things that were more important to you? But nope, gotta fire them and hire people who are no more an expert, because there are no experts in that area. So I don't know. I don't really understand it, which is why I don't belong there.
Wes says, that's how Disney is that way. 4 months of 60 to 80 hours a week, and then they lay off for 6 months. Trust me, they understand the financial aspects. Yeah, they don't understand the financial aspects.
That I understood. That part, but that part I understood. I kind of got like, we're not in production, and I'm not, it's not like you're an EP or you're a writer or something where you're working on the next season of whatever it is you're on, right? If you're crew, you're out. There's nothing for you to do, so why should they pay you? I kind of get that, and it's fine,
Yeah.
but it means that job is, constantly you're looking for your next job, which,
Yeah,
you know, and
exactly.
with production moving all over the country, like, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure Wes is well aware of this, but with like production moving out of LA to all kinds of other cities and states in the country, it's getting harder and harder because now you have to be a nomad, and ship yourself all over the place.
Yep,
So that's
pretty
getting to be
much.
a hassle.
Wes says DreamWorks wasn't like that. We had gap tasks and could go over to other departments. Yeah, I'm sure that DreamWorks probably
Yeah.
had a lot of overlapping projects, right? So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. That works. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm kind of glad to be out of it. I miss the salary, not gonna lie. I do miss that. It's been challenging attempting to build a paying living career as an artist, especially since I've kind of only done part time on it, really, in the last so many years. This is really the first chance I've been able to just sort of power through and see if we could turn something over from here. And if I can, oh man, that's gonna feel great. You were always busy, Wes says. Oh yeah, DreamWorks, man, you were still, I think, kind of one of the top dogs. You think of DreamWorks and ILM, and geez,
Yeah.
that's awesome. But yeah, so Friday afternoon, these poor people are listening to our stories about this, and a lot of them are sitting in their offices listening to this. That's frustrating. What advice do you have for somebody on a Friday afternoon?
Wait.
Yeah.
No, yeah, none. Go leave early. It's the summer. Leave early.
It's the summer. Leave
aren't
early.
you guys on a 1 o'clock closing the office day? I mean, I remember back in New York in the 80s, everything would shut down at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, not everything. I mean, people's jobs. And they'd all head off to the Hamptons or something, except for the rest of us who were working for, $5 an hour.
Sure.
We were stuck, breathing in the dirt for the weekend, but everybody else got out of town.
Run away. Exactly. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, and then it would just be, you and the tourists,
The turistas ricas, yes.
Yeah.
So it's I don't mind having some distance from it. Let's put it that way. That's actually
Yeah.
pretty good. And oh my gosh, if we could just get through this humidity, I might actually get something done here this week. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I have to say that I don't miss, sometimes that we think about, like, where should we live? Because we live in New Mexico.
Oh, that's
And,
right. I
I
didn't even
sometimes
really bring that up to everybody. Tell them the general location without, not
well,
a
we're in
house
Santa
address.
Fe.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. My address is my alarm code for the house. No, we're in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We moved here 5 years ago during the beginning of the pandemic. Or no, not midway through it. My wife was like, "Why are we sitting here in Palo Alto in this house that we don't like, and we could, be living in the desert in someplace we want to live?" And so, we just kind of we rented a place. We never even saw it. We just saw like a bad, like it was the guy did a video, the guy handling the rent, the agent handling the rental. And he did a video that was so shaky on his cell phone that, I mean, I was nauseated. I was literally like I had motion sickness and I
Oh.
couldn't look. So I never actually ever saw the place. But my wife, she's like, it looks okay. I can't really tell. I mean, it might be okay. And so so we drove, from San Francisco to Santa Fe, and we get here in the middle of the night. I mean, it's super late at night. It's totally dark. There's no moon, no nothing. And that where we had rented was totally dark. No street lights, no nothing.
Ooh.
And Google Maps tells us to make a left. And we both get there and we're like, because we have both cars and I have a trailer. And we kind of stop and we're looking and it's like there's just desert there. And we're like, okay, so that's not a road. you know, and, and it and she's like, what do you think we should do? And I'm like, I don't know, let's keep going down the road a bit. Maybe the actual road is further up here, and then just Google Maps hasn't been updated in years. And yeah, sure enough, we found our road and got to the house. And it's pitch dark, so we have no idea. We can't see anything. We have no idea what's around us. We're like, or did we just rent a place in like, Manson Village or something? Or who knows, But it turned
Mhm.
out okay. It turned out to be fine. It turned out to be a little bougier than we were thinking, but we just kind of wanted, it was just there was nothing for rent, so it was like one of the few places we could find, so we just kind of rented it. But it turned out fine, and then we liked it, and then we were like, yeah, let's stay. But we were thinking about moving, and we were thinking about going back to Seattle, and then we were
Mhm.
looking at prices, and we're like, okay, so maybe not Seattle. um, and and then and then we were like, well, we could take my parents' house. And then we were both like, I do not want to live in New Jersey ever, ever, ever again. So no, we're not going there.
Okay.
And then, yeah, they had a nice house in the country, but it was like New Jersey. And I was like, I can't imagine living in through, East Coast summers. Just can't do it. Uh, and then it was
Yeah.
like, well, where else? Where do you go? Do you move to Europe? I'm like, that's going to be the same thing, just different problems. And then I have friends who live in San Miguel in Mexico, and they're like, "It's pretty cool here." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. Let's, let's just stay in the U.S." you
Right.
know. So, you
I
know,
I think that's pretty cool.
we
It
stayed.
surprised me. Yeah, it surprised me when you said you moved to
Yeah,
Santa Fe. It was definitely Stephanie and I. It was one of our target places we would considered going to. So I think that's really cool that you settled there.
it's nice here. It's surprisingly it's a small town, relatively
Mhm.
speaking, but because of the tourism, it doesn't feel as much like a small town as you'd expect. I
And
mean, I've
yeah,
Well,
not
before I met Cynthia, I was thinking I wanted to get out of San Francisco, and I had this vibe that, oh, I should wait for a minute, and that's when I met Cynthia, like
oh,
the day
cool.
after having this feeling. I met her, and I was like, oh, that's why I had this vibe. I should wait. Um,
Funny how
what
that works.
about
Mhm.
I know in 2017, I guess it was, and I was thinking like, I don't want to be here anymore. I really, I was living in the Mission, and it was kind of. It was kind of a building that like in one good earthquake and it was going to be just, collapsed on the ground. So,
Right.
you know, every time there was even a minor tremor, the whole building just like swayed in a way that was not confidence inspiring.
Was that the place that I
And
visited you? The apartment you had on the top floor of that place? Is that the
yeah.
one? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember it.
did you come to that? Oh God, I don't remember.
I flew
Yeah,
down
yeah,
for
that was
Expedia.
that was. Oh
You
yeah,
were
yeah, that was my place in the Mission. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it was central. I liked it. I liked where I lived and everything, and it was nice because we didn't get the fog. We always got nice summer nights and summer days and everything.
Mhm.
But it was kind of a crappy little place, and it was like living in it was a little bit like living in my first apartment in Brooklyn in Greenpoint. That was like a railroad apartment. It was a little bit like that. It was super narrow and just sort of I don't
Mhm.
know. It wasn't
It
a
was
fun
cool.
place to be.
It was a cool place.
It
I
was
thought it was neat.
fine,
Yeah.
but
Wes says there's a
yeah, it
cool
was fine.
remote Wes says there's a cool remote observatory facility in New Mexico. I've heard of this. And there may be a couple where they've set up like 20, 30 telescopes and they're all remote accessible. So you can log in and use a telescope and they've got a bunch of them. I forget where specifically, but I think it's somewhere near New Mexico.
Well, I don't know. I actually don't know that much about all the. I mean, there's a lot of different things happening with astronomy and stuff here because of just we have so much open space and dark skies. So
Hmm.
you have some of the least light pollution in the country. I mean, also northern Nevada
Low
is also
humidity too.
and the low humidity exactly. No, that makes a big difference. Yeah, but we do have problems with dust storms. But
Yep.
anyhow,
Wes
um,
is saying there.
I don't know where that is.
Deep Sky West is one, and New Mexico Skies is another. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
tempted to kind of log in on those, and because I've only taken my telescope out a few times here. We actually in Western Pennsylvania have very good skies in our backyard. There's nothing nearby. Oh yeah, and the very large array. Yes, that is which always makes me think of
No,
contact. So yeah.
I know. We've been to the Very Large Array. It's very cool.
Oh,
They did an open house. They did an open house, I don't know, a few months ago, 2 months ago maybe. So we went and it was really cool. And now, of course, we're getting inundated with things that they want us to come back and see. And I'm like, okay.
okay.
Um, we've been to White Sands, White Sands amazing. I went to the
Oh,
Trinity site,
yep.
the first
Mm-hmm.
nuclear test site. They
That's
open
cool.
that twice a year, or they did. I don't know if they still do, but they, you can. And at the time when I went a few years ago, you didn't need to get a ticket or anything. You just needed to show up, and after a certain time, they just closed it. So
Oh.
it was a little, I had to leave my house at like 3 in the morning to get there. Because the thing about New Mexico is that everything is like a 4-hour drive, no matter what. It just always ends up being like, you want to go. Like we go to Chaco Canyon quite frequently,
Oh.
which is
Mm-hmm.
sort of northwestern New Mexico, and it's pretty far out there, and it's pretty. That's another amazing spot for looking at the night sky because there's nothing near it, so there's absolutely zero light pollution. There's nothing. There's almost no man-made structures anywhere near it, or any kind of lighting or anything. So the night skies are pretty incredible, especially. But you do get the afternoon thunderstorms, so that can be kind of a hassle because if you're not set up for it, like we were there once, and there was a family camping, and they had one of those kind of REI giant 6-person tents, but they're not really meant for windstorms. And then the wind came in and just blew the tent like miles away, like just gone, just disappeared. And they were just standing there going, "What do we do?" And then like a second later, like the deluge opened up on them. And
Yep.
then they were just standing there like completely drenched. Everything they owned was out of the car on the ground, and then now wet.
Now wet. Yeah.
And I felt so bad for them. But yeah, well, I mean, what can you do? I kind of was like, you're not from around here. You know?
Wes says I've been to Chaco Canyon many times. I don't think I've ever been. I've been to
Yeah.
Chiricahua.
Oh,
Over in,
cool. Oh, good.
yeah. Oh, and yeah, he says about the remote telescope sites. You don't need gear. You can join an imaging team and then share the raw data that they
Nice.
get to process. That's really fun. I've tried my hand at a couple of the downloads from Hubble and never got to JWST, but it's the same principle. They take the data,
Yeah.
you mess with it, right? So that's
Yeah.
that's really fun. Stephanie and I still very much want to do a Southwest trip. It'll be another revive the bounder and get on the road. So there we go. The poor
Well,
bounder.
I mean, there's a lot of things to see.
Oh
There's
yeah.
also lightning fields.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of the artist, but the Dia Foundation in New York
Right.
still maintains that. That's really hard to get into. You really have to book that, and they do. It's sort of like trying to go see Michael Heiser's City north of Las Vegas.
Right.
It opens up for reservations, and then like I swear, you know, 10 seconds in, it's booked. And I'm like, what? That's kind of. And I
Yeah.
have friends who have gone, and they're like, oh yeah, we just called them up, and they said they had extra tickets. And I was like, that's because you're art world personalities, and they know your name, so that's why.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Hey, maybe I'll be able to
it
get
doesn't
us
help when
in.
you're a nobody.
Hey,
Yeah,
I might be
there
able
you
to get us
go.
in as a VIP. I'm a very important live streamer on YouTube, right? With millions.
Right, exactly.
That's really
I'm an
cool.
influencer, damn it.
I mean, I'm influencing. Yes. Come on. Haven't you seen me? Don't you know who I am? I'm Christopher Dahl,
What
space
else?
artist.
Um,
So yeah, we'd
there's
like
all
to.
kinds of, but there's yeah. Go ahead.
We're still kind of. I feel like this settling in here has been an extended process, and everyone warned me. It's going to be over a year before you feel like you're settled in. I'm like, whatever. Well, it is. It's so. We'll get some of that in front of
Yeah.
me, and then somebody dropped 20 cats on us, so that has made it significantly difficult for us to leave for any length of time. But
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
have 3 dogs. We just got a 3rd one, so that's kind of been fun and also annoying. Um, I'm surprised they haven't barked since we've been streaming, because normally they would have at least barked once or
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
And when they bark, they don't just it's not just a bark, it's a full-on crazy bark fest. That sounds like we have the most insane dogs on the planet, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, luckily we haven't had any deliveries, although we're supposed to be getting some stuff today. But normally deliveries are the hated UPS man, who
The
leaves some
hated
treats,
UPS. Yes.
right? He leaves some treats and really nice treats. Like, he's a really nice guy, but for some reason they've decided that nope, he does not belong here. You know.
Hey, there's a human here. I don't know that human.
Well, they like humans. They've just decided that, like, the brown truck is bad.
Yep.
You know.
Oh, fun.
I think that when we think about what we're gonna do with this podcast, I mean, right now we're just yakking away because
Oh
that's
yeah.
fun.
We're in a second. Let's get everyone an
But we
idea
have
of
some
what's
ideas. Yeah, I mean, we have some ideas for things that we want to talk about. I mean, I think the thing we talked about yesterday, like talking about gaming, but like, I'm not interested in gaming reviews because I don't know anything about most games. But I am fascinated by people who get really into all of the details of it's sort of like how Dungeons and Dragons evolved, and then you have World of Warcraft, and you have these games that take up so much time and energy and money in some cases. And I'm fascinated by oh, there you go. I'm fascinated by
Yep.
that, and because I'm not that way. I don't, I just want to jump into a game and like run around for a minute, maybe drive a car, shoot people, and then I'm done 5 minutes later. I
Right.
have that level of attention span for games. So I am fascinated though by what it takes to get good at some of these games. And I think that's a conversation. And so, I think that's something we're gonna get into. And then I think about, like, we talked a little bit, we kind of referred to our work experience and our work history. And I think about the fact that, like my education, I had a good education, but it didn't necessarily prepare me for, and I didn't expect it to, it wasn't vocational school. It was just like how to think and how to solve
Sure.
problems. That was my
Right.
education.
Mm-hmm.
But we never talked about, so how do you want to apply this? Like, no one ever talked about that,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. And I think
Not
about,
at all.
like, same thing in high school. No one in high school ever talked about, if I hadn't read a lot of books and thought a lot about, why is life this way? I don't know that I would have been that prepared. And so I wonder about, how our education system is working and how so many people come out kind of not knowing where they want to go, what they're going to do, and then being unhappy. And I think about how unhappy we were at Microsoft, and
Oh
I
yeah.
think about, like, that didn't have to happen. Like that, I mean, and I know why it happened. I know, like, we both kind
Yeah.
of made the same decision because salary, benefits, like health benefits especially,
Yep.
being paid vacations, when you have kids, that's all really nice.
Family. Yep.
401ks are nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other ways to do it, but no one ever really we never talked about that. Like, and no one talked about it. If I ever brought it up with other people, like, I remember bringing it up with my father when he was alive, and he was just like, "Well, I don't know what to say."
Yeah. It's school of hard knocks. You learn it and
Really?
you
Like, in my
go. That's
20s. Yeah. I mean, and I realized, like, well, he grew up during the Depression, so in his mind, it's like, well, you just do what you got to do, and
yeah.
I don't know, you have to figure it out. But it would have been nice to maybe have a little more of a conversation about that
Oh, absolutely.
somehow.
It's a missing point in not only college education, but I think even high school too. Wes has a good question. How do you feel about mobile
Saw that.
gaming? Yeah, has become so
Yeah.
predatory with all the ads, in-app purchases, and data harvesting. So
Mhm.
many games I've tried are
Yep.
really nothing more than ad delivery apps. Yeah, and Iridium
Or
agrees. Yeah, it's annoying.
yeah,
What's the?
yeah, it's
I want
horrible.
I want a good game. Give me the game, especially if I like buy a mobile game. I'll drop $5. Give me something cool or something involved. Don't freaking throw an ad at me. That's ridiculous, right?
Or don't make it play to win, like pay to win.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the things we were talking about yesterday. I noticed, like, there's this kind of basic model for games that I'm seeing that get recommended to me on the App Store on the iOS. Now I don't know about Android because I don't have that, but I know with the App Store, you'll see the games that are recommended as bestsellers or whatever, and there are all these games where you pretty much there's a free to play for a little while, like, and it's kind of fun and exciting, and then the game turns into harvesting your wallet.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
only way
exactly.
you can actually enjoy the game is to spend, I don't know, $20 a day almost, it seems
Yep.
like.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, that seems really wrong. I mean, I guess, and I wonder about the people who fall for that. I feel badly because that doesn't seem, it just doesn't seem like a positive experience to me.
It's
But like I said, my
yeah.
style of gaming is very casual though. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
um, I play a game. Okay, so my favorite, now we're gonna get it. Well, we don't,
Yeah, right.
okay, I'll just say this one thing and then we can come back and we can have a whole session on gaming because I think it's an interesting thing. And
Oh, there's a
I
lot.
think it'd be interesting to get some more people's perspectives on this too. Because like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very casual, but there's a game on iOS called The Tower. And it's just like a tower defense game, but it's a slightly different take on the whole tower defense thing. It's not like a bunch of enemies walking along a path and you have to kind of set up towers. You basically have a tower, and if you already know the game,
Yeah, I
you
have never
just bear
played.
with me. But you have this, yeah, well, it's just a tower, and you have to configure your tower over time to have defense and attack capabilities, right? That's
Right.
fundamentally it, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you're being bumped it's a little bit like the old asteroids game, like you're constantly being bombarded with, not, they're not really enemies because they're just blocks, but you're
Right.
constantly being bombarded with, things. It's like being in outer space and you're just getting bombarded by space junk endlessly. So it's like that. And
I
it's kind
love
of
it.
funny. Uh, and you can spend money, but that's not really the intention of the game. Like they have the opportunity if you want to buy gems or buy whatever the other kind of thing you need, but mainly it's just about, kind of setting up your tower so that, you play games against against the game. Basically, you're not really playing against other people, and you want to harvest coins, and the coins are what you use to buy upgrades to your tower.
Right.
And then every couple of days they have a tournament. You participate in the tournament, you get some other time. Anyway, the
So
point is the
you
game
could either
basically
play.
runs by itself. It just
Right.
You don't actually play it. You just let it run. You just kind of let it. I mean, there are guys who just have tablets running. Like they just run it on a tablet 24/7, and I'm like,
It's
it's a really kind of interesting game. And I kind of like it because I just kind of ignore it for the whole day and then I'll come back to it and I'll be like, oh, I died. Oh, well. And then other times I'm like, oh, I'm still playing. Oh, I should just upgrade that. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, cool. And then you're like, oh, I leveled up, and you're like you actually are literally doing nothing. But there are whole Reddit people subgroups dedicated to it, yakking away. I mean, I've occasionally gone to look and see what's going on, and because there are some things I'm like, how does that work? Like, why is it doing that? So I'll go and
so
I don't
it's
ever ask anybody because I don't want to be inundated by the men who know people who are just so fucking condescending in their behavior.
yeah.
Um, but I do occasionally like kind of Google it and go, oh, that's what that feature does. Huh.
Right.
That would have been nice to know, like, 3 days ago. But anyhow, but it's kind of an easy game to play and you can drop in on it anytime and you can, pay attention to it, or you can just ignore it and let it run your battery down on your
Yeah.
phone,
So
and that's
basically,
fine
your
too.
tablet is playing the game. You're just kind of watching
Yeah.
the results. Yeah.
It's a little bit like that. And so that's kind of the perfect game for me because that's about the level of involvement I really want. And I don't
Yep.
really care that I don't really understand like all the nuances of it because I don't have to. The game just plays. Like I could learn more about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have to. I can just kind of occasionally check in and spend 5 minutes kind of paying attention to it and go, oh, that's kind of cool. Look at that. And the graphics are kind of fun to look at. Like if you leave it full screen, it kind of looks cool. It just looks like a fun animation on your phone. So
So what you're also describing reminds me of the people that grow
pretty,
orchids for fun, because it's the same principle. You set it all up and then you come
yeah.
back and it looks interesting and sometimes it dies and Iridium comes in and says, "Hey,
Yeah.
addictive games like gambling. They tune the games to be very addictive, and I've
Mhm.
fallen into that. World of Tanks, especially, but World of Warships a little bit too. And Wes adds, especially all the games that promise to pay you cash to play. I mean, that's yeah,
Ooh,
obviously a
yeah.
scam, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll tell the story when we get onto the game session on the live stream. But yeah, I found I discovered I discovered addiction in games. Don't not a good combination. In kind of the hard way. But yeah, so I
Yeah.
monitor what I do.
My addiction, and this should be another whole topic for another live stream, but my addiction is guitar pedals.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
I,
just bought another pedal. Like, do I need? I think it's my 40th drive pedal. I'm pretty sure I don't. I
all
mean,
right.
they all sound different.
What'd you get? What'd you get?
Hang on one sec. Hang on. Let me
Well,
get it.
well, you better pull it out because Wes likes guitars too, and Iridium. They may be the only two people watching today. I'm not sure. Hey, everybody, welcome back.
All right. So, I have. Here we go.
Oh, there we
It's
go.
the new Keeley Manus.
The
pedal.
Manus. Is that
So,
Manus Hands of Fate?
That's a really good question. I have no idea. They see I'm a very superficial guitar pedal buyer too. So but it's essentially another version. It's another. So you guys have all
Ooh,
heard about the Klon pedal, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Iridium. Yeah, he used to fix guitars
Yeah.
and amps
So
back in the day, and Wes also
Ooh,
works on amps. We've got a crowd
good.
of people that
Nice.
will appreciate a show and tell at some point of your collection.
Right. Well, just don't ask me to play because that's just embarrassing.
Oh, you're gonna
But
have to play. We're gonna
so
make you play. We're gonna make you play Stairway. Is what we're gonna do.
okay. Actually, I don't know that. I've never learned that song. Because
What?
when I was growing up, that was kind of the most hated song. So no, I
I
didn't
know.
learn it.
Yeah. Right.
You
It
know,
was.
we were all no, seriously, we were all busy learning all of
Hmm.
the David Gilmour solos
Oh
from
yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh sure.
So and then the Wall came out,
Uh.
and the Comfortably
Mm-hmm.
Numb solo became the next one you had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And and the funny part is, years ago I could have bought myself a big muff pedal and had that sound, but it never occurred to me to do that. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I just, I was like, oh yeah, and everybody was like, well, you don't sound anything like David Gilmour, and I'm like, no, but
No.
of course I don't, because I'm terrible, and I'm like, what, what, I mean, did I ever say I was any good? And they were like, no, like the sound is wrong. And I was like, oh, okay. And you got to get this pedal and that pedal and this amp and that amp and yak. And then
Oh,
recently, like last year,
Iridium threw down the
last year I
gloves.
bought a, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Everyone has to play
everybody
one
has to play
song.
one song.
Yeah, Wes will come in with the
Yeah.
John Carpenter theme for the thing on guitar or bass. Oh my god, I don't even
Yeah.
know one's. I honestly barely know one song all the way
Only
through.
Gilmour sounds like Gilmour.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
Exactly. But last summer I picked up a big muff, and then I never really plugged it in. I just kind of sat on it for a while, and then just the other day when I got the new Keeley pedal, I was like, oh look, I have this big muff sitting here. I
Or
wonder what that
kazoo.
sounds like, And then I plugged it in, and I was like, oh, I get it now. And it was like one of these moments where like, oh, I could have bought this 40 years ago, but I didn't.
For those who aren't in the guitar community, a big muff is a pedal.
Oh yeah.
It is an electronic device to make your guitar sound different. Yes, for those of us that aren't there.
Well, pedals. I
Right.
mean, the pedal thing is just crazy.
I'm
I
gonna
still
do
have my original tube screamer though, which the circuit board is broken, so you can't plug it in anymore, but it does work
Oh.
with the battery. So
not very good.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You can't
that
actually
was
plug
once
it in.
borrowed. God, I can't believe who borrowed it. Some blues musician. I had a friend who used to work for a booking agent, and we were at a show, and the next guy coming up, the headliner, and I can't remember who it was, but he's like, oh, my tube screamer's broken, and my friend was like, "Hey, go home and get your tube screamer." I was like, "What?" So I did, and then I was like, "But I want this back." So I wrote my name on the bottom of it in
Mhm.
Sharpie,
Right.
and then I give it to the guy, and the guy's like, "You wrote your name on the bottom of it?"
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I was like, "Well, yeah." I'm like,
Mhm.
I know how things go at the end of a show. Stuff disappears." And he goes, "And you think your name on the bottom of it is gonna keep it from disappearing?" And I was like, "Well, no, but you know,
At least when
but
you
it
look at it
can't
down the
hurt."
road, you'd know who you got it from. That's
But
funny.
it was kind of hilarious. I wish I could remember who that was. It was so long ago. I don't remember, but anyhow, it was hilarious.
I own one pedal for my guitar. It was on your recommendation, and it is a tube screamer. And yeah, so that it's done the job very well for my
I
meager
mean,
equipment layout.
there's like a million YouTube channels that have
Yeah.
talked about the tube screamer and whatever. Like we could just be million and one, but
Oh yeah.
um
It's
I
funny
think
how
it's
it's the
funny
one.
to think about the whole, yeah. Well, yeah, it'd be the one. But I think it's funny to talk about just like why, like what, what's the, I have so many drive pedals at this point. Why buy another one? Like what's that about?
Well,
That's that sort of weird collectoritis that some people get. I mean, I know I
it
do
doesn't
that with
happen to
guitar
me. Don't
pedals and
Nobody notices the Enterprise model in the back that's sitting in front of another Enterprise model. Um, yeah.
ignore me. Yeah.
Bear
Yeah.
with me for a second here. This is worthy. Worthy. Come here.
Hmm. Well,
Any
yeah,
possibility to um I
what you got?
I do have a problem, right? So I mean that's not a small Enterprise, right? This is it's one of these. Yo. There we go. Yeah. So this is my tube screamer, Andrew. There we go.
Yeah, yeah. No, I would love one of those. I've always wanted like a one of those big enterprise models. But
Uh I
you
have
know,
I have two of these. So even though so this is like my analogy to guitars. I have a lot of big kits. Yeah. But they're they're a little dedicated to a couple of projects, and they're actually still making these models. You or anyone else on there wanted to ever, like, in the future, have a big Enterprise, it'd be a good time to get it before they kind of stop being made, and then you can always
mm,
find somebody, if you don't want to build it yourself. We have a number of people in our chat, and myself, that could definitely do the build for you, which is pretty cool. It is a good kit, and it looks gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, like Wes says, the only problem is that it's not finished.
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Mm.
So yeah, this would all be under the category of addictive hobbies, right? Like what collections, hobbies, and you know, the things that make us a little bit crazy. No, not
Yeah,
crazy, not
no,
crazy.
it's interesting. I actually think it's kind of, like it's sort of, it's funny how society looks at hobbies and now compared to other, I mean, what am I going to say here without offending somebody? Um, how like when I was growing up, there'd be guys, still playing, still building model railroads, right? And that was a very big thing.
Oh yeah,
But and as a kid, I didn't really understand that, right? Because as a kid, you look at adults and you're like, they're supposed to be past that. They shouldn't be playing with that stuff anymore because that's a toy. And then you get to our age and you realize, oh no, you're still 15, you're still the kid playing with models or trains or whatever it is, it's still the
yep.
same thing
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't lose interest. And in fact, I think it's a good thing to have some kind of something that makes you happy, you
I think
know?
in general, I find people that have healthy hobbies, even unhealthy hobbies to a certain degree. I find people that who have interesting hobbies to be far more interesting people. And I've met enough people that have no hobbies outside of whatever they do. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you might be effective at something, but in terms of being an interesting person. I don't know. It depends. I mean, I'm not talking about celebrity types. I'm just talking about kind of day to day stuff. I think everyone's got to have some kind of
people.
jam. Yeah.
Yeah, the people that you meet in life. I mean, I just remember being okay. So when my son was 2 and he was at a little kids daycare program, not really, whatever, and it
Mm-hmm.
was in San Francisco, and all the other parents were, I'd go to these events for the, fundraising events or something, right? And I'd sit there, I'd get stuck at a table full of other men who were all like in real estate, or they were lawyers, or they were, somehow or other in the finance industry or whatever. And all they do is sit there and talk. And it was all one-upsmanship about like whatever deal they just made or whatever thing, all the money they just made or something, right?
Right.
And then it would get to me, and then somebody would finally realize that I'm sitting there, because I'm just sitting there kind of like, whatever, and because I'm like, I have nothing to say here, and so it get to that point where somebody look at me and go, so what are you working on? And I'd be like, nothing. And they're like, what do you mean nothing? And they're like, well, what do you do for a living? And I was like, oh, nothing. No, I don't have to do anything for a living.
Yeah.
And it would be like, and invariably, like they'd want to ask, like, are you like wealthy? Did you inherit? Did you make a lot of money in a startup? Because it was at that point where people were just starting to make lots of money from IPOs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then
capitalists.
and then I just, yeah, and they're like, what? And then one guy asked me, he goes, well, oh, so did you inherit or whatever? And I was like, oh no, I just steal it.
Yep.
And then everybody shut up. Literally everybody shut up, and they were just kind of like, all right, he's just fucking with us. And then nobody ever talked to me again. For the rest of the year at that thing, no one ever talked to me because
That's
they were just
not
like,
bad.
And I'm like, mission accomplished, because none of them had anything interesting to talk about. I remember one guy said, oh, I had this, I had an Alfa Romeo at the time. And this one guy goes, oh, I saw you in your vintage Alfa. I was like, oh, yeah, that's one of the dozen I've owned. And he goes, oh, I have a brand new Corvette. And I was like, well, good for you. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I mean, I guess there's a connection there. I mean, I didn't really see it, but I could see that.
Four wheels. Red.
But the first thing the guy says, he goes, I have a Corvette. And he goes, mine is so much faster than yours.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I just looked at him and I was like, so? And then he was like, oh, well, okay. And then he just walks away. And so, I was like, I don't understand you people. Like, you're not enjoying yourselves. Like, your whole life is is dictated by how you compare yourself to others. And that seems unhealthy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, like Wes says, yeah, you showed them how unserious they were. And yeah. and Iridium too, yes. You are trustworthy as you have way too many hobbies. Oh, absolutely, Iridium. 100%.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. I think people with hobbies are people I want to know.
Yep. And even if it's a hobby I'm not interested in, you can learn a ton. It's kind of cool. So, it makes them a more interesting.
I had a Japanese friend at school in England. I went to the American school in London, and he was a really nice guy. And so one day he invites me. He goes, "Do you want to go plane spotting with me?"
Ooh.
And I'm like, plane spotting? I'm like, what? I don't know. What is that? And he goes, well, we got to Heathrow and we watched the planes land. And I was like, that sounds a little bit like watching paint dry. But I was like, well, I don't know. Sure, I'll go plane spotting. I don't know anything about planes, but okay. And then, he and his father, and we were there, and half the time they were speaking in Japanese to each other, and half the time the kid would translate to me. And then I finally I said, does your father not speak English? I mean, because you're in England, and he goes, oh no, he speaks English. He just doesn't like to speak to Americans.
Fair.
And I said, oh, okay, should I be offended? And he goes, oh no, don't be offended. He's Japanese. And I was like, okay, well, tell him my mother's English, and maybe that'll be better. And then after I told him that, then he actually spoke to me, and it was funny because, as it turned out, his father was like a aeronautics engineer and got all this stuff, and
Oh, wow.
really interesting guy. And I was like, wow, I never would have known this if I hadn't come out here. If I just been like, oh, that sounds dumb, I would have
Oh,
totally missed out on something. I was
yeah.
like 15, and then we got it. And then it turned out he was really into cars, and it turned out they had this amazing car collection, like unbelievable car collection. And his mother apparently was uh, French, I think, or something. Anyhow, they had this incredible car collection, and I got to see all these amazing. Like he had this one-off Japanese, the Toyota 2000 GT from the
Mm.
Bond film. That he had one of those,
Oh, it's really
And I
cool.
was like, "How did you get one of these?" They only made like a handful of them, anyhow. So it's like you never know what you're gonna find, but I find that the people who have some kind of interest tend to take you to other interests, and that's cool.
Yeah,
So.
that is very cool. I think hobbies are a ripe subject for sure, and we'll probably get into this. A little, maybe we should touch a little bit on we were kind of thinking, maybe like launching the podcast on Thursdays in general. We haven't.
Yeah.
I don't know if next week will be the first or the week after. I'm looking forward to kind of taking a look at this after we get done to see what this all looks like. And chat, thank you very much for kind of enduring this. I know it as with all of my live streams, it comes together a little weirdly, but this has
Yeah.
definitely helped a ton. And again, next Friday I will definitely be getting back to just straight up painting. I'm feeling the need to grab a paintbrush, and I haven't painted on the live stream in like a month, which is really messed up. So thank you all for your patience anyway. So
Yeah, we were all going to talk to you about that, actually.
I know, right? Suddenly it's
You're
spaceships,
slacking
and
off. This is totally uncool.
it's not like my house is filled with unsold paintings. No, I'm no regrets, no worries. I say that merely for the funny remark. Yeah, so it's kind of the flavor we have. If those of you watching have any comments, suggestions, concerns, questions, feel free to drop me a line in chat. Feel free to yell at Andrew if you want to. I'm not, he's in there as well, so we'll be able to kind of sort this out. I'm imagining that this podcast will kind of have a life of its own, but because Andrew and I know each other as well as we do, I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of touch it off and kind of launch it a little bit. Plus, I'm having just moved everything in here. I'm kind of I'm back to a case of, oh, okay, great, we moved everything. Let's resettle it all. So that's the way my entire year has been. So yeah.
I'm going to figure out a way to put the chat below the camera so I don't have to constantly look, like
Oh yeah,
that.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'll just
Awesome.
mount it on a tablet, like mount a tablet under the camera there.
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. There's so many things. So many things. So
I
many, So I'm sure. And if anybody has any suggestions for me, I mean, please, if I'm doing something, if I'm constantly moving and I'm not in the mic, you can tell me,
They're not shy. I promise. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not, I won't be offended. In fact, I'll thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, any kind of feedback is helpful at this point. So, and then later I'll just be like, no, I don't want your feedback, but right now, yeah, that'd be good.
Now this is gonna be a good time. I might. Sounds good. Looks fine. Thank you. Appreciate it, Iridium.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I know it's going to be kind of a short day today, and I keep doing that and apologize, but I feel like we probably, let's kind of wrap it up with a couple of final thoughts here, and we can we'll check out, and I'll continue to investigate my thing here. I'm sure it'll dry out by next week, and everything will be fine. I'll be back to the crazy static electricity this place usually has down here. So any final words for the chat?
I think I've said everything. I would just be maybe repeating myself at this point, but I think like this was pretty free form. But I think in our next one we'll have more of a topic that we're going to follow. I mean, obviously we'll still be somewhat free form. I don't see us ever doing anything scripted, but like I think some of the topics we have scheduled are going to be more focused. This might have been just a complete ramble session, but
It's
um,
kind of
so
a
and if
yeah. If they hated
yeah,
it,
and I
they'll
think
let
that
us know.
I I also think I saw that and I have no filters. Well, that's
Yeah.
good. I appreciate that, Iridium. Um, and I think that I'm also I think we should take suggestions from people
Yep.
because obviously we want to talk about things that you want to talk about. So I mean, we're doing this because we have a lot to say, and it might just be that we're navel gazing, which I'm totally fine navel gazing endlessly. That's fine by me, but
That's okay
it'd be
too.
fun. I'd like to engage people more. So, I'd love to. What makes it fun when we're chatting during Chris's painting sessions is just, interacting with each other. Um, so that's something
Ooh,
I think I want to make sure that everybody knows.
Wes says maybe you could each hold a model and
Oh
pew
yeah.
pew at each other. Oh, I agree. That 100%. And
You
Iridium,
know what? Here's the
mm,
thing.
yeah.
I'm sure most of you know, James May from Top Gear and
Oh yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. And
Hmm.
he's a big model and model train fan and everything. And so,
Hmm.
he had his producer sit and do an Airfix model with him. And it was pretty hilarious. And I think about I'm like, I don't
Yes.
want to copy what he's doing necessarily, but I think it's kind of funny because I think if you ever saw the way Chris and I would build a model, it would be hilarious because my method of model building is still a little bit like I'm an 8-year-old kid.
Yep.
It still ends up with glue everywhere, and then I don't paint for it first, and I don't sand off the little bits where they attach to the sprues.
Noob.
Put all the oh, yeah. Oh no,
Hey,
totally.
thanks. We got a new follower here. Thank you so much. I the name clipped, but hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Welcome aboard. Excellent. I didn't catch where I'm on a clip thing here, so apologize. And Iridium suggestion, a
Yeah.
sci-fi book review here or there, or
Yeah.
art on the books,
Yeah.
video games. I've wanted to do.
Yeah.
In fact, a while ago, before the move, I did kind of an afternoon. I did two live streams that were just on the art of John Berkey, and I really would like to kind of pull something like that together as well. Nobody's really done. There's a few artists that nobody's really done a retrospective on, and that could be a lot of fun. I'd probably better clear it with the estate, but the family's estate, they're pretty careful about that. But so those sorts of things, art, book reviews, movies, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have when Dune
Absolutely.
Messiah comes out next summer. We'll do that for sure.
Oh, we should have a whole session on the Dune, like the TV show, whatever they call that thing.
I
What's
the Max show. I haven't even watched it. The Dune thing
okay.
that they did. I was interested, and then about the third time they trashed the writers' room and pulled in a new showrunner, I was like, okay, I'm done. This is gonna suck. There's no way. I'm sorry.
I don't know if it sucked or not. I can't tell. Like I watched it.
Did you? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what I thought of it.
I
Also the other one, and talking about TV shows, I also watched that show that got canceled on. I think was it on Amazon? The Wheel of Time or something.
Oh yeah, the Wheel of Time.
Did you
Yeah,
guys?
yeah. I never saw it.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, the 27
Yeah.
book mega series that what's his name, Brandon Sanderson had to finish. But yeah, that kicked off his
Yeah,
career.
and I don't know the details behind it. I never read the books. But I mean, I think one of my favorite TV and book series was the Expanse. I really
Oh
enjoyed
yeah.
that whole. I mean, I love the book series, but I
Hmm.
also thought the TV series did a pretty good job of it.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
was surprised.
yeah.
Actually. I was really surprised.
And
Although I
we're
have
at
to admit, the guy they got to play the character of Marco, the guy that throws rocks at Earth.
Oh yeah, the younger
I
guy. Yeah.
I really didn't buy him as that character, the actor they had playing him. I think it was the eyeliner that I found too distracting.
Yeah,
It was
the
weird. Like I
Belters.
just
Yeah.
never was. Yeah, but the guy who plays the terrorist guy, who,
Right.
starts to
Hmm.
tries to destroy Earth with by throwing rocks at it.
Well, he
I
he
was
had
like,
Belter roots, and they had kind of a weird.
oh yeah,
They gave them kind of the eyeliner, the tattoos, they kind of wanted to make them different because they couldn't elongate them effectively the way they were
the
in
way
the
they were
books.
supposed to be.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I got that. There was something, but it was something about the guy's makeup, the
right.
way that they made him up, the actor just made him look too.
He was
I didn't
pretty.
find him believable. And
He was
then
a little
and
pretty.
so I kind of got to that point. Like I watched the whole thing, but then
Mm,
when I've tried to rewatch it, I get to that point where he becomes like the primary character, and I'm just like, now I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah, that
Whereas
happens.
in the book, I found it a very compelling part of the story in the book. I mean, the idea of like destroying a planet by throwing rocks at it.
Easiest
That
thing
was
you can kind of
fascinating.
do once you're out in the
Yeah,
system, dropping things on gravity wells is remarkably easy.
crazy though,
Yeah,
right? A crazy thought.
yeah.
Anyhow,
Oh my
so
gosh,
yeah.
we can do a whole episode on space wars in intergalactic space. Yes.
Well, also, I'm also found. I got to go back and reread the Foundation series because the TV show I found odd. They did the
Right.
that was another Amazon thing, the Foundation series that they did. I
Apple
found it
TV.
odd.
Yeah.
Apple TV, that's right.
Right.
I found it odd, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. So now I have to go back and reread those books because everything feels odd to me. So
You're gonna love
I'm
it. I
back.
reread them a couple of years ago, and every character in the Foundation books talks and acts exactly like Isaac Asimov. So his ability to write characters with kind of depth and character is a little limited. He was more of an idea person, I think, and
Maybe. Yeah.
a little bit of a schlep. Apple TV's been popping lately, though. Silo was exceptional. I
Oh, I
really
didn't see
enjoyed
that.
that. Oh, don't watch the first episode. You'll be hooked in a minute. There's 2 seasons. You'll love it. It'll, yeah, that's a show that triggered things in me. Like, remember the old game Myst, the CD-ROM game?
Oh,
There's, there,
yeah, of course.
yeah. Okay, Iridium, take care. Thank you so much for dropping by. Says you got to go, and catch you next time. Thank you so
Yeah. Hey,
much.
thanks for coming by. Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I think yeah, the Apple TV Silo is very, very cool. I didn't
Cool.
I still have to get there's 3 books. Loved Mist. I did too. Mist was fun.
Yeah. Oh
Uh
God, yeah. That was Mist was amazing. I mean,
yeah. Oh,
that was like
Severance. I forgot. Severance. Silo and
mm,
Severance. Oh my god, I'm sweating like
Severance.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Silo
That's
and
great.
Severance
I
were kind of
haven't
like
watched
these.
that yet.
Oh, you're gonna fucking love that too. Oh my god, it'll give you PTSD like it did to me. So yeah, we got some
Yeah.
things we could discuss, and I'll restore my Friday afternoon to just being Mr. Painter guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up here today, and I appreciate everyone showing up here. Thank you, Andrew, for dropping
Yeah.
in as a guest here this afternoon. That's really cool.
No, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're
Um,
welcome. And
yeah.
we'll have to come up with a
I
good
could probably
sign-off phrase.
oh, I know. Yeah, that's not my thing. I'm bad with that. But I'll try. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was something earlier we said earlier that really struck me. Now I forgot. Oh well, never mind. I'll have to go back and rewatch this and I'll remember it.
Be excellent to each other. All right, everybody. I'm going to close this out
Yeah.
today, and I'm kind of just going to kill the stream, not because things aren't working exactly the way they wanted to. And yeah, thank you, everyone. We will catch you all next week with an actual painting. Oh, Wes says, yeah. Mist kind of reminded him of Fallout. Yeah, seriously, me too. It had a great
Oh
vibe
yeah.
to it. All right, everyone. Take care. We will catch you all next time. Goodbye.
Oh.
There we go. So I just killed the hang tight here. Let me bye everybody, end the stream. There we go. Okay, cool. We are good. Wow, we had all 21 views today.